What's happening, everyone? I'm Jordan, and this is Front Run Tech. And the markets look like they might be at a bit of an inflection point here, at least regarding the trajectory of the markets for the short term. And so we're going to go ahead and take a look at all of the market and try and see what's going on as we head into the new week. All right, we'll start out here with Bitcoin on the 8-hour chart. And we know that Bitcoin did get the breakout, breaking that downtrend trend line. Got the breakout right here, even got the perfect retest of the break. And then Bitcoin since then has reversed its momentum, at least here for the short term, and was able to clear above this horizontal level that it had been getting rejected at, and is now kind of consolidating right above there. All right, so while we did get a breakout of the downtrend, you still really need to see the top of this bear flag resistance really broken through, um, to really affirm that we are really fully back bullish and potentially gonna be looking at a run towards the all-time high. All right, for now this looks like, you know, a sustained consolidation within that down move, and this is a bear flag until it's broken, period. All right, so that's what Bitcoin looks like currently. And now let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin on the weekly chart and get a more zoomed out perspective. All right, this is Bitcoin on the weekly chart. We know that Bitcoin had the major breakdown of the ascending trend line, the one that was coming off of the bear market low. You can see since the breakdown here, it's kind of been spending quite a few months going, or quite a few weeks going sideways. But now you can see with this weekly candle, this is a nice weekly candle where it's reaching all the way back up to a test of that trend line as resistance. Now you can see the wick went perfectly into that trend line with a bit of a rejection, but looks fairly good for now. What we don't want to see is now a rejection happening here and starting to get red weekly candles coming off this. We would like to see Bitcoin close back above that trend line and negate the breakdown. All right. Also, another thing to look at here on the weekly chart, of course, is going to be, go ahead and put on the 52-week moving average. You can see this moving average, you know, as we come out a few more weeks, it's going to be coinciding with that trend line resistance now. So that's going to be the real test. If Bitcoin can keep moving up and come and test that 52-week moving average, that's going to be where the real party is, because in every other cycle, once Bitcoin has lost the 52-week, the bull market was over, and it would make its way back up and retest it for the bear market. We've seen that in the previous two cycles. So it's going to be very important if it does make its way back up to the 52-week. What happens there is going to really tell us a lot about what type of market we're in for Bitcoin, right? Um, let's go ahead and take a look at the stock market, because the stock market is actually at a pretty important place right now. We'll go ahead and start here on the NASDAQ. All right. You can see the NASDAQ, it's been consolidating for quite a while since the last all-time high, really looking like more or less bullish consolidation. It was in this triangle, and it did recently, was able to break out from that triangle, but was not able to clear the horizontal level and was not able to make a run at the high. But currently, you can see we're closing these candles right on the retest of that trend line, and you can see closing that candle also right on the ascending trend line of support. All right, so we're right at the inflection point of this triangle, and I would say most likely whichever way this goes is probably going to be the direction, at least for the short term. If you get the break starting next week below here, we could be looking at coming all the way down, back down to this horizontal level around 24,150. If we can get a move up and break above this horizontal level, then you'd be looking at taking out the all-time high. All right. Now, we can go ahead and look at the S&P as well. The S&P, a little bit of a different look. It has set a new all-time high recently, but the S&P is more so just drifting and consolidating as well. Overall, though, it's in this kind of shorter term rising channel right smack dab in the middle of it. So we'll have to wait for some further clarity on the S&P. The Nasdaq is really the one to watch this upcoming week, it seems like. All right. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at gold and silver. This is the gold 8-hour chart. Gold, of course, after putting in that major local top back here in October, it consolidated for just a little while and then was able to, of course, break into price discovery once again. It has now made another move up after that, and this looks like more just bullish consolidation, possibly waiting for a further move up, and the gold bull market continues to be absolutely epic. All right. Um, the interesting thing is that coming off the previous all-time high, which was the first impulse up since this consolidation started, you can see gold actually sharply pulled back after that and came directly into the main ascending trend line right here and held it perfectly and made another high since then, and now the consolidation. So gold continues to look very strong. Let's take a look at silver. Silver, very similar. Silver also recently tested its main ascending trend line and perfect touch and bounce from there and just exploded into another all-time high and kind of just chopping now towards that high, right? And silver continues to absolutely crush gold lately. So it's been very interesting to see silver on this run. We look at the DXY, this is the 8-hour DXY. The DXY overall, it just continues to be a lot of irrelevant price action sideways in this range. Every breakout has kind of been faded, but there has been no real new low set either. So um, it did break down for this very short term ascending trend line, but now currently it's made a move back up and it's been able to get back above kind of that middle level in this consolidation. So we'll see if it's able to hold this horizontal level and possibly make a bigger move up to the top of this range. But overall, it's still not too much to see with the DXY. All right. Um, I did want to go ahead and look at the US bond charts. So we'll start with this is the 10-year yield bond, and the 10-year has kind of been floating up recently since October. It just made a new local high, and you can see zoomed out, the 10-year is really just in this big triangle consolidating. But recently it's been kind of bottoming out here and making its way back up, and that's pretty interesting to see even with the rate cuts and stuff. And if we look at the 30-year, the 30-year is actually more elevated than the 10-year as it tries to approach 5% again. Recently had a breakout of the main downtrend. See the breakout, little deviation below on the retest, but now it's back above it. So um, these longer dated bond yields, it's going to be hard to get them down with what's going on. So I don't know. It looks like they're going to have to be continuing to issue a lot of short-term debt until they can somehow get these longer-term bond yields down, which is really going to have to come from like QE basically, which the Fed has started a form of QE with asset the asset purchase and the balance sheet expansion again at 40 mil a month or 40 billion a month currently right now. All right. So, I guess before we get out of here, let's go ahead and take a look at my favorite uranium miner. This is UEC, which of course I've talked about a lot, and the UEC bull market continues to be pretty fierce. UEC breaking out of this short little consolidation, a descending parallel channel, breaking out of that. As soon as it broke out of that consolidation, it zoomed off to a new all-time high, and now it is once again in price discovery as it continues to be pretty relentless in this move up. All right. So I still am holding uraniums and don't plan on getting out necessarily right this second. All right. So I think it's a big week coming up, especially for the stock market and the NASDAQ. And we're also going to see what Bitcoin wants to do next after a little bit of consolidation. So I guess that's where we will leave it for today. Um, if you guys enjoy the video and the content, you can also follow Front Run Tech on the social media platforms, on X, Instagram, and on Noster. And the links for the socials will be in the description of the video. And also, if you guys want to watch a video specifically about and concerning the Bitcoin 4-year cycle and the overall market structure for Bitcoin, I just made a video on that, and that's the video that'll pop up if you want to check out that one. Alright, thanks guys.